Hello, hello. Sorry about that. I was supposed to be back shortly, but I had to run out and get someone. It looks a little fuzzy for some reason, so let me clean this off. So, I said in my last video I was going to be right back after a couple minutes, but I had been planning on... Is the camera going to focus any day? Okay. So I had said I was going to come back right away after doing the get ready with me to show my small eye brushes. But I ended up having to go pick someone up earlier than expected. The video was supposed to be done by 2 because they were supposed to be ready at 2. But anyways, sorry about that wait. I'm back. And I have my collection of small eye brushes to show you. This was another request by a watcher subscriber who wanted to see my small eye brushes after I showed my large eye brushes. So here it is finally. Just like with the large eye brush video, I'm going to have several categories and I'm going to go through them, talking about the merits of each category, and then give you an idea of which ones to pick for deciding on what small eye brushes you would like. So we're all familiar with small eye brushes, I guess. So this is just a sample of them. I have several other sizes of, say, pencil brushes, and then some other detail eye brushes. This is more of the extraneous category. But let me grab some other brushes real quick to show you the difference between what I consider to be large, small, and medium brushes. So this is a testament to how unprepared I am today. I just have my entire brush case here instead of having it more organized. So this is what I would consider a large eye brush. This is what I would consider a medium eye brush. And this is what I would consider on the side of a small eye brush. Alternatively, this one. So if we're looking at, say, the Japanese brand Hakuhodo, for example, their large eye brush will be this size. This is the Homari series. This is the KZ05. Similarly, the Z5 is kind of the same size. And then you go down a step, and this is their small. So they're kind of missing the medium sizes in most brush lines. So this is the Z10. This is the small eye brush. In comparison to the large one, there's quite a bit of a jump. But that's where you supplement with brushes like this in the middle, the medium brushes. But if you've seen me do my makeup, I can pretty much get away with just using a large brush and a small brush, assuming I pick the shape strategically. So this is going to be a companion piece in how to strategically pick small brushes to accompany your large brushes, and so you can get all the makeup that you need done, or most anyways. So the different categories of small brushes that you have are going to be the pinched flat shapes and the round shapes. So this is an example of a pinched flat shape. You have that crimped ferrule here, and you have this flat paddle. And then you have a round shape, which is like this. So within the flat shapes, you have several variations. You have, for example, this standard flat paddle. This is a limited edition Hakuhodo made of Canadian squirrel. It's quite bladed. And then you also have ones like this, where it's a little bit more like a bullet shape, but it's still kind of flat. This is technically a lip brush. This is the Real Techniques old lip brush. And as you can see, it's also very bladed, and it has this point that allows you to get quite precise with it. So this one, for example, would be useful with liner. This one would also be useful with liner, but because it's Canadian squirrel, you would use it for shadow liner instead, or inner corners. And then this brush is also an inner corner brush or outer corner brush, depending on how you want to use it. And then this one is very similar to the Hakuhodo. This is the Tamage, I believe it's the BP039. It's also got that blade, and it comes to a fine point there. So these are your sort of like more standard small eyeshadow brushes. And then this is technically a lip brush, just like the Real Techniques one, but I tend to use these two for eyes a lot because of their shape. This one's kind of light right now because I use it with a shiny eye primer. And then you have these flat tip brushes as well. So 2 of these are actual eye brushes. One of them is a lip brush. I have the lip brush in here to just show you how similar brushes can be. If you just extend them or change them just a little bit, you change their function. So this is a flat Kolinsky brush. This is both an eye brush and a lip brush. I tend to use this one more for eyes. Again, this one is for liner, cream stuff, details, applying eyeliner, though I actually don't prefer this one for eyeliner as much as I do for smudging out pencil liner. Similarly with this one, this is the Takeda 4 Red Sable. As mentioned in a previous video, this one is made of generic Sable Weasel, not Kolinsky Sable specifically. And this is a lip brush, which I also sometimes use for applying shiny eye primer right here because it gives me a little bit of a gleam. So when I have my eyes open, it's just a little bit of light to contrast with the black liner or my black lashes. So I find this to be the perfect fit for this area right here below where my crease is. So that's what I use this brush for, as well as the Hakuhodo Z7 if I'm not using it for on-the-go lipstick. And if we're talking about very, very detailed brushes, well, we have a paintbrush. This is something I picked up from an art store. This is in size 0, and then this can pretty much get anything you want liner-wise. And because this is nylon, I can abuse it. And it's nylon and it's cheap, so I can abuse it with liner all day long. And it's perfectly fine. A little bit earlier, I had used this bladed brush for doing eyeliner. This one has a very fine, thin edge. So I love using this one for eyeliner. This is probably not what you're thinking of when you think of detail or small eyeshadow brushes. So this is kind of a little bit of a wild card, just like this one. As far as standard eye brushes go, you're probably looking at something like this, which fits here, 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 everywhere basically. Also, if you wanted to highlight a bit of the Cupid's bow, this small eye brush, or this small eye brush, I don't even know what brand this could possibly be from. This is that old. And it was passed on to me when it was already pretty old. And then you have this little one here like this. So you generally want to look for small brushes like this. I'm going to give you measurements on these brushes really quickly in a second here. So if you can't find these exact brushes, you can kind of have an idea of what sizes to look for. So these brushes are all pretty much the same length. So I'm going to measure this one, the Tamage BP039. So I'm going to go like that. And then this one is, let me see. Yeah, I'm sorry. This is going to be a longer video because this is going to take time. This is 8 millimeters tall this way. And then it's a paddle brush. So it's going to have a smaller measurement this way. This is 2.7. And then as for the ferrule here, this is 3.4. So basically, if you're looking for a small brush, anything 8 millimeters or below is going to give you a pretty good measurement for getting anywhere that you need to get detail. So again, this way is 8, and then this way is 3 at the base, and then like about 0.5 millimeter at the top because of that nice blade. Or did I say 0.5 millimeter? Oh yeah, that's 0.5 millimeter. Okay. So very small paddle brushes, 7 or 8 millimeters and below. That's what that looks like. As opposed to, let's grab a large eye brush. A large eye brush like this is, this is 18 millimeters long. So 8 versus 18. And I would think anything above 13, maybe 15 is considered a large eye brush, but it also depends on width. That's why I forgot to measure. Let's measure this. So this is 6 millimeters wide and 8 millimeters tall. And then as far as the odd paddle brushes go, you have ones like this one by Sonia G. This is the Builder 1. I consider this a detail eye brush as well because of that nice blade you get on the side. You can really get in there and define your eye with this if you use just the blade of it. I keep calling it a blade, but don't get me wrong, it's not sharp. It's a very soft goat hair. And if you have brushes, detail brushes made of goat hair, any sort of squirrel, any sort of other high quality hair, it shouldn't poke you because that tends to be where you're working with these detailed brushes along the lash line, inner corner, all these other sensitive areas. So this one is also pretty short. This one is 8.5 millimeters tall. Let's measure the base. And 4.5 millimeters at the base, but it's quite small at the tip here. 1.3. And then this is another extremely weird brush. This is a Hakuhodo flat liner brush. You'd be using this one with something like, say, a black shadow to set your gel liner. It doesn't have to be black. If you have a green gel liner, set it for green shadow. But the point is, this is for something extremely small or to push liner up into the base of the lashes to make them thicker and also kind of give your lashes a bit more curl and lift. So that's what you can do with these small brushes here. This particular one is made of horse, so it can handle those type of things, but of course check the type of hair it has. So of course you can see very small, very fine. I could draw in the lash line there. This is a little bit of a different detail brush. This is an Ogi by Hakuhodo. The handle is from a limited edition set, but they still have this shape in blue squirrel in their permanent thing. This is meant for eyebrows, but I find that this shape, because of that nice blade, also works really well for sketching out eyeliner. So if I'm going like this, I just take this shape and I kind of sketch it out like that. It perfectly lines up along the outer corner of my eye, and then it gives me that nice sort of parallel going up and out. And then of course fan it across, and that gives me liner. This is a different type of detail eye brush, but that's what I use this one for. It's also got the shorter bristles here. We're looking at 8.5 millimeters. So that seems to be the recurrent theme for paddle eye brushes, 8 to 7 millimeters. Yeah, this 1 millimeter would definitely make a big difference, because especially in this profile view, because you can see how flexible this one is. We're looking at, let's see, 1.8 millimeters for this one, and you can see how flexible this one is. Versus this one is 4.5, and then this one has a much thicker base, so it has much more stability and body at the base of it, so it's much more firm feeling, but it doesn't feel pokey. And then compare with this one, where you have it very pinched at the base, but then it flares out a little bit, so then you still get a little bit more of the blending brush action. So I guess the problem is, now that you know measurements and what to look for in terms of detail brushes, you don't know what the brushes look like bloomed. And oftentimes, especially for pencil brushes, you don't know what they're going to look like bloomed, and you have to pull them into shape while they're drying. So you wash them, and then you kind of like pre-shape them, and you let them dry that way. So, for example, this brush, I thought it was going to turn out like a normal pencil brush, and then I get this extreme pointed brush like this. I had no idea it would turn out like this. Turns out I love it, but this was not what I was aiming for in the beginning. So those were the paddle detail brushes. The rest of them are going to be these round shape, these pencil brushes. I kind of have a different category between pencil brushes and bullet brushes. Bullet brushes to me are more for blending and erasing. Pencil brushes like these are for applying and like kind of getting color on more concentrated. So let me pull an example of what I would call a bullet brush. You're getting a little bit of a look into how I store my brushes here. It's literally just a brush case, and I sort them by shape. So this would be a bullet brush. See how it's nice and domed and round compared to this brush down here, which obviously has a point. Top is a bullet brush, bottom is what I would call a pencil brush. And then same thing with, say, this one and this one. Obviously, one of them is bigger than the other lengthwise, but the top brush is a bullet brush because it has that rounded shape, and bottom one is a pencil brush because it comes to that nice taperedness that gives me the ability to have more detail. And even within pencil brushes, there's a lot of different categories that will affect what you're able to do with them. So, the other side, there's big, medium, and small pencil brushes. So that's kind of how I have it broken down in here. So we're and by big, medium, small, I'm talking about the point, not the length of them. So this is what I would consider a big point pencil brush. This is what I would consider a medium point pencil brush. And then this is what I would consider a small point pencil brush. So it might be a little difficult to tell between the large and the medium right now, but when you go to apply them, the taper here determines how much surface area comes into contact with your skin and subsequently how your makeup applies. And of course, it kind of also depends on how you groom the brushes into shape after washing. So let's start with these medium ones. So the large ones. So the large ones are almost more like blending brushes. You can apply, but you'll end up with this bit more of a haze. So this is the Koyudo CO11. This is probably one of the more common ones. You can see kind of has a little bit more of a roundedness. It's kind of hard to pick up against lightness because, oh, there we go. That's a little better. So it has more of a rounded shape to it. It's not quite a bullet brush because it doesn't have that truncation where it's cut off. It still has that taper, but it has less sharp of a taper than, for example, this brush. This one clearly comes to a point. This one's like kind of a demi point. This one's like more of a point. So this is why this is medium and this is large. And some of these might be considered medium points by other people. This is the Koyudo Mizusakura medium eye brush, and I consider this one to have a medium to large point because the taper doesn't go down very sharply. It kind of starts about right here, and then it goes down from there. And then this is a synthetic one. This is the new Tom Ford. Wait, no, this is not the new Tom Ford. This is the old Tom Ford 14. Sorry, this is natural hair. I'm thinking of the ones that are synthetic. And then, so this is definitely a large point for me because it has more of that rounded shape. And then I'll do swatches between the large, the medium, and the small points in a minute. I'm just showing you examples. This is on the border of a large and medium point for me. You can't see it comes to this point shape because of that taper. However, it's not shaped super pointy here compared to, say, this medium point, and definitely not compared to this small point. Well, okay, this one is a small point. It looks like a medium point, but from how it feels, it's a small point. So this is a Hakuhoda. I think this is a gray squirrel horse mix, and it definitely has more of a surface area when you hit the skin with it. And then this is a Tom Ford clone in synthetic that I just normally use for a pinpoint concealer, but sometimes I do end up using this as a cream shadow brush. Yeah, I'm a collector, but I wouldn't call myself a serious collector quite yet because there are some people who go like way off into ordering custom brushes with Canadian squirrel, white Canadian squirrel Kolinsky hair. I'm not quite at that point yet. I'm kind of too lazy for that. I do get multiple brushes if I really like them. This is a category I'm going to talk about at the very end. These are detail brushes, but these are what I consider blending brushes. This is Koyudo 036. I have multiples of those. And where was I? Okay, medium point brushes next. This is the Koyudo. Oh God, what is it? This is the T8. I'm having a brain fart. This is the T8. I consider this a medium point. This is the T10. I also consider this a medium point. This is the KZ08. And then this is the Crease 1 by Sonia G. And then the reason why I consider these medium points is because I can wing out liner, shadow liner with these brushes. Whereas for these brushes, I get kind of like a round termination, so I wouldn't call that a wing. So medium point brushes. And then small point brushes is brushes I can basically use to draw on eyeliner with creams or liquids or shadows. So this is the small size of the Koyudo Mizuame. So the small size of the Koyudo Mizuame I consider a small point. The medium size I consider a large point. So you can see the different termination sizes here. This is technically a lip brush, but because it comes with that very nice sharp point, I pulled it because it would make a nice visual representation of what I'm looking for when I say it's a small point. This is another excellent small point brush. This is one of the Hakuhodo brushes. I can't remember the code name on it right now. I think it's the WS5. Don't quote me on that. This is horse, and you can feel that it's definitely horse compared to squirrel, but it's still pretty soft. And this is the Sonia G. Where is it? Hello, Pencil 1, and made of goat hair. And even though it looks like a medium point, I keep referencing it as a small point because of the extremely small surface area when you push it away from the rest of the bodies of the hairs. So I'm going to take some shadow and swatch the small, medium, and large brushes for you. Some of them you might not be able to tell, but when you're handling it on your eyes with extremely light pressure, you'll be able to feel the difference. So I'm going to start with the large brushes, and I'm going to use this shadow here. So just going to take a couple select large brushes, and I'm using the body first, and then I'm going to sketch with the tip. So, okay. Plan 2. That was not the best shadow for this. We're going to use a black shadow instead. Okay, scratch that. Let's use the black shadow to demonstrate small versus medium versus large. I'm going to use that black and hope it shows up. So this is sketching. No, that's not sketching. That's doing it with the main body, and this is like sort of sketching it. I'm like barely touching the skin here, just enough to deposit pigment. So you can see the large point has this width of application. And this is the Tom Ford 14 that I'm demonstrating with. Because why not? And then I'm going to do another large point. This is the Koyudo CO11. And then that's something I like to do. I like to roll my brushes when I pick up pigment with them. And then roll to redistribute. Okay, there. So that's the large point brushes. I'm going to do 2 medium point brushes. I'm going to do the CO11. Wait, CO. This is the Z10. Clearly, 7 hours of sleep was not enough. Sloppy. Okay, that's the body. I'm going to redistribute a bit, and then this is the point. So that's the medium point, and it looks patchy because it is patchy. Because I have a scar in that area over the skin. I mean, that area of skin is scarred, so it's a little more glossy and doesn't grab pigment as well. So that's the medium. And then this is another medium point. This is the T8. There we go. And what the heck, why not? Since we have all the Hakuhodo pencil brushes here, let's just use the KZ2. So that's another medium point. These two are large points, these two are medium points. And then final medium point, I'm going to use the KZ08. And again, doing it on the arm of my hand is probably not the best comparison, but it's the comparison we've got. Because I am not taking my eye makeup off a million times to do a million brushes. And so large, medium, medium. So let's review the brushes that I just used. Whoops! I also dropped the brushes I just used. Okay, that one's not going on my eye anymore. This one over here is a Koyudo CO11. Large point. Oops. This here is a Tom Ford 14. It's a large point. This is the Hakuhodo Z10. This is a medium point. This is a Hakuhodo T8. This is a medium point. This is a Hakuhodo KZ 08, also medium point. Take off my watch here. I'm going to move on to the small point brushes. So we're going to use this one. This is the Mizuho small. I'm going to apply it here and then here. So as you can see, the line is very fine, but it's also very faint because there's not much volume to hold pigment. There we go. That's a little better. Sketching just a little bit more. And then we're going to use this Hakuhodo one. So the first line that I draw will be very thick because it does have a very big body, but it does have a small point. So here. So you can see that small line. So this is the brushes that we're looking at for the smalls. This one and this one. So at this point, I'm just nitpicking differences, but there is a difference between the large, the medium, and the small pencil brushes. Of course, with brushes like this, you're going to get an even finer line. And then I'm going to grab a couple brushes over here. And also grab a tissue to blot my face because it's starting to get hot in here. And then finally, for detail eye brushes, what we have are what I consider to be blender brushes, like this. They're long, they're round. Well, one of them's not round. And they kind of flare out a bit rather than have this point that comes down. So these are mostly rounded on the ends. The exception is this one. This is a Sephora Drawing Shadow number 41. It's actually kind of unique because it has a triangle shape, but the basis of it is still the same. It's small enough to apply with detail and blend. So this is a pretty great detail eye brush if you're trying to apply and blend at the same time. Second to that would be the Koyudo BP036. Apply and blend. Pretty strong one at doing that. This is the Shu Uemura 5R, and it has a little bit more of a domed shape compared to the 036, as you can see. It's a little more rounded, so it blends a little bit more with a hazy effect right away. And then you have, this is a Hakuhodo something. Mine's old enough that it doesn't have a number printed on it yet. But this is one of their blue squirrel blending brushes. This might be like the 5529 or something like that, the G5529. But that's this. So a very small detailed blending brush. And then this is a synthetic one from Urban Decay. I think this one's discontinued. This is the Detail Smudger E212. This one, because it is synthetic, it's a little less flexible and it can feel a little pokey, but it's a very strong detail blender slash smudger, because they call it a smudger, but I use it as a blender. And then you have something like this. This is a Koyudo. I believe this one's already discontinued and out of stock. But it's similar to the Hakuhodo one, where they both come to this round end and have that like dome shape. They're like basically a smaller version of your blending brushes. That's what these are. So to recap for those who showed up late, let me wipe off my arm really quickly before I recap the brushes for those of you who have just joined. Just dropping more things than normal today. Okay, where'd that cap go? Fantastic. Let's drop everything. Yes, let's drop everything and get makeup everywhere. That's how today is going. Okay, so for the recap, let me see what I missed. Shopping list after. It's going to take me a while to get the brush list up afterwards because a lot of these brushes I don't know exact name codes for, so you might have to wait a little bit on that. Okay. Yeah, well, the first stream will be up eventually. YouTube kind of has this thing where it doesn't upload live streams right away. For what reason, I don't know. But you'll be able to watch the first stream where I, apply makeup with my brushes and talk about them. So I also talked a bit about the lashes I'm wearing today, which are magnetic liner lashes. So that's fun. That's new. Probably not the stuff you come here for, but you're going to see me use a liner brush to use it. Okay, so to recap, there's several categories of small brushes. There's the flat brushes and the round brushes. So flat brushes, here's a flat brush, here's a round brush. Within flat brushes, you have several categories. So your several categories of flat brushes are your standard paddle flat brushes, your flat top flat brushes, your kind of diamond point flat brushes. These are very rare. And then your sort of, how should I put this? What the F brushes. So the only thing that these all have in common is that they're all 8 millimeters or shorter. And then I have a caliper which I use to measure that. So at 8 millimeters or shorter, you have your flex limited extremely by how thick the brush is. The thicker the brush is, like say this, the more firm the brush will be and the stronger it will be at applying pigment. This is also in combination of the type of hair you use, whether it's horse, goat, or squirrel. But if your brush is both short and thick, you will have a very strong application with your brush. So that's the thing to remember with these small brushes. In general, with these square brushes, you will get a stronger application than with your paddle brushes because you just have more hair, more surface area when it's a square versus a circle. And then you also have more hairs backing it up as you use it side to side. So it will be more firm and it will apply more pigment. And then this is one of those what the F brushes where it's like, what do I do with this? I use this for liner and it's supposed to be for applying eyebrow. Other great brushes, great paddle brushes to consider for small detail eye brushes are actually lip brushes. So these are 2 lip brushes that I use for eyes all the time. These are that flat bladed paddle again. And then so you can see very easily where this would be a lip brush. You have your point, you have your blade, you have your side, you have the blade for drawing lines, you have the side, and that also works extremely well for doing eyes. You have the blade for like applying flat shadow all along here, you have the point for applying precision, and then you have the blade for blending stuff out or applying stuff in the line. So definitely look at lip brushes for detail eye brushes. Most of the time they will be synthetic or there will be something more durable like say Kolinsky. This one I had mentioned earlier I really like using for eyeshadow primer. So I'll take my, for example, Urban Decay eyeshadow primer, Paint Pot, Maybelline Color Tattoo, and I'll just apply a little shiny line here and then the rest of it gets hidden by my eyelid. And then it'll contrast nicely with whatever liner I have on. So then it's kind of like a very easy eye look. Just swipe, eyeliner on, done. But that works for me. I don't know what your eye shape is. And then since I was pulling brushes that can be used for liner, I pulled an actual liner brush. This one has a very, very thin blade. And then you can like practically draw eyelashes with this thing. And this is a Mizuho eyeliner brush. I'll find the name code for it eventually. And then this is the art brush. And then this is something I definitely have not had since high school, but might be from then. So this is another brush, great for doing detail on. And then, as I said, the benefit of that is you can kind of abuse it. So I think that was all my detail brushes. Oh, yes. And then something to consider is the length of your bristles. So small eye brushes for me, like I said, start at anything 8 millimeters or smaller. But then once you get smaller, you also get firmer. So make sure that the hairs are something you can tolerate. So Kolinsky, some kind of horse or pony, I think. So if you have some low quality goat or low quality horse, it will feel pokey, but Hakuhodo's horse is pretty extraordinary and it's silky soft and velvety even on my lash line. So these are kind of used for like this or like this, patting on shadow to set gel or pencil eyeliner so it doesn't smudge. And that's what these are for. I don't really use these square shapes so much for applying eyeshadow here, so that's that. And then as for pencil brushes, oh dear, I kind of mixed them all up, didn't I? I have small, medium, and large points. So this is your standard pencil brush, round shape, kind of like a target, comes out, comes to a point. So then you have different types of points, which is the large, the medium, and the small. And depending on what size your point is will determine how much variance you can get out of your eyeshadow. So if I have, like say this, for example, you can see it's quite thick in the body. This is 5.7. Is that backwards? I can't tell. This is 5.7 millimeters wide, but then the point comes to this tiny little thing, which is like 0.25 millimeters. So I can get, in other words, I can get a line all the way from this big at 5 millimeters to 0.2 millimeters thick, depending on how much pressure I put. If I press hard, I'm going to get the full body of the brush and get that 5 millimeters. If I ever so slightly just touch the skin, then I get the thinnest of lines, and I kind of can wing out a shadow liner, which I most of the time prefer because it doesn't look as harsh and I have a little bit more play and wiggle room with it. So if you have a lot of finesse with applying your eyeshadow, then definitely look for the sharpest point you can get. Again, this one's in horse, and I actually prefer this one over, say, my squirrel brush. This is my Z10. This is a medium point, which I used to prefer for doing my shadow liner. However, I have since come to prefer this one because it is horse, and you watch my swatches, you can see the pigment applies much stronger and much more readily with this horse one, so I don't have to keep going over and over it and risk making that line thicker. So examples of large point pencil brushes. This is the original Tom Ford 14. Let's see how big it is. Point is about 1.3 millimeters. And then this is the Hakuhodo T8. This comes to 0.6 millimeters. And then we have this one, which came in at 0.2 millimeters. So at this range, you can really only tell the difference between the large and the small. The medium is kind of much more subjective, but that's how I categorize them. So that's basically the video. So I'll just take questions and requests until I guess this is all done. Okay. Shop and box to find a replacement for the BP036. I don't know. I've never heard of that website before. The thing I am concerned about is because I talk about it so much, it is a personal preference. It might not be something you end up liking that much. So kind of like take my thing with a grain of salt, because if you hype it up in your head so much and you get it and it's not all that I cracked it up to be, you're going to be very disappointed. Rather than go, oh, this is a nice brush, you're going to go, this is crap. Mini Booster by Sonia G. Mini Booster. I don't believe I have that brush. If I do, I haven't used it in a while. Let's see what you look. If it's not in the fundamental set or the Sky Face set, I don't think I have it. Mini Booster. No, I do not have that brush, but yes, it does look very similar to the Hakuhodo, except made of dyed goat instead of squirrel. Okay. What? Okay. Okay. If I made sets of pants offerings, and there's probably a lot on Instagram that compare the Suku brushes to the Fude Japan brushes. So I would basically go find all the people on Instagram that have Suku brushes and the Fude Japan brushes, and there'll probably be some comparisons for you to check out for that. I have not tried the Suku cream foundation brush. Literally, the only Suku brush I have is the cheek brush, because that was like a mandatory one to have. So, pencil, way similar, density. Yeah, so that's something I can't quantify for you on screen here with all these pencil brushes. I can tell you about the length of the hairs and the fineness of the points all day long until I'm blue in the face. But at the end of the day, density and hair type really affects how your brushes perform. Like, just to do it again, because now we're doing a direct hair type comparison. These three brushes are all medium point brushes. This is the Hakuhodo T8. This is the Hakuhodo T10. This is the Hakuhodo KZ08. Goat, Psycho Ho Goat, gray squirrel, cotton squirrel. Let me swatch some shadows to show you how differently they apply, even though they are all basically the same size and kind of come to the same tapered point. Let me show you how much of a difference hair type makes. So I'm going to use this ill-fated brown shadow. I'm just applying, this is like hard pressure right now. I'm applying with the main body of the brush. And then this is using just the tip of the brush. Like this is me barely touching my skin just enough to deposit pigment on. And I keep forgetting that I have that scar there and I keep applying over it and that's why that's patchy. So that's the gray squirrel. I'm gonna roll it around in the goat now. As you can see, a lot less shiny. And a little more. Drawing that line. That's goat. So you get a lot more of that smoky base that makes up the shadow rather than the shimmer. And this is cotton squirrel. Rolling around. Okay. That's not showing up the best, is it? Okay, let's roll it around a little more. So as you can see, hair type makes a difference. And also whether or not your skin is scarred. Yep, that's cotton squirrel. Let's try with the goat again. And if you're wondering why I have scars on the inside of my arms, it's because I burn myself a lot when I'm cooking. So like this particular one is when I threw a, swordfish steak into the pan and the oil splashed back and hit me. And then apparently I'm allergic to some adhesives on Band-Aids. And the Band-Aids themselves cause more scarring. So now I have like this whole patch of skin that's just a different texture from the rest of my skin on my arm. So yay. So gray squirrel, goat, cotton squirrel. There's your difference, even though these are all medium points. And you were able to see how much I had to work with certain hairs to get it to show up more. Very personal. Someone else look at my brushes and say they are all the same. When yeah, to me they all look different. Yep. Sometimes you find that one brush that you really love and you know you have to get more than one. I absolutely agree. I do have cooking mitts. I just don't wear them most of the time. See, don't have money at the moment. So I got brushes of the holes I have. Yeah. And then that's the thing I feel bad about. Like I only have so much money to devote to brushes. So people are always asking, "Have you gotten the FO series yet?" And I go, "No." And they say, "Are you gonna get them?" I say, "Eventually." And then when are you gonna get them? After I'm done getting all the limited edition brushes that are gonna disappear. Like if they're what's it called? If they're permanent, I don't have such an urge to get them. So FOMO is real. Like, for example, I was dragging my feet on getting another Koyudo BP16, another 039 for the longest time. And they said, "Oh, yeah, we're saying goodbye to the BP series." I'm like, okay, going on there, getting my backups now. And then it kind of spurred me to also look around and realize, oh, Hakuhodo is discontinuing a lot of their, or not discontinuing, but out of stocking a lot of their Canadian squirrel brushes. Let's get a couple more. So I was kind of out of the brush scene for about 9 months, and then coming back is kind of like, whoa, what happened? All my favorite brushes, where are they? I'm not getting into trouble because I'm buying brushes. I just have to be very conscious about how much I'm spending. Like everything goes on a spreadsheet. So I kind of always analyze how much am I spending on this. So brushes is part of my fun category. And then if my fun category is too big of a ratio compared to my necessities or savings category, I go, okay, time to slam the lid down on that. So yeah. I have not yet done a video I have doubles of, so that's a good idea. Of course, there are also brushes I really love that I can't get doubles of, so I'm not sure how I would qualify that video. Beautylish is very good for the fact that they accept returns readily. So if you're, say, buying from CD Japan, you would have to show them that your brush is basically effed up to be able to send it back and get a refund. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult because that tends to be the, Japanese and European return policy. Unless it's a manufacturing mistake, we're not taking it back. Meanwhile, Beautylish has a much more American approach of, if you don't like it, send it back. It's okay. So Beautylish is a good introduction point. And once you become a little more adventurous, yes, CD Japan and other sites. I'm not sure about Fude Beauty. They're newer. I haven't bought them from them yet. Not sure what the return policy is like. Ones that I need backups of. Well, since we're here, here's one of them. If you look at my Instagram, you'll know that I already have 3 of these brushes and I bought 4 more of them when I found out they were being discontinued. So this is probably the biggest one. And as for duplicating brushes, let's see. Since we're here, by the way, if you're still watching for this detailed brushes, that part of the video ended a while ago. So those of you watching for detailed brushes, we're done. We're just goofing off now. See. Well, there's brushes that I've bought trying to dupe other brushes, so I wonder if you would count those. But ones that I have extras of. My GS2 is this one. This is kind of like a Canadian Squirrel MAC 217. So both paddle brushes, the GS2 is obviously a little smaller, a little less puffy, but it kind of works the same way as a 217 for both applying eyeshadow and blending it out. I think I showed it in a video somewhere on my channel already. GS2, GS1, this is a Canadian Squirrel brush, a large eye brush. I show how to use this one in my large eye brushes video. I also definitely mentioned that I use it for face highlighter, nose highlighter, eyebrow bone highlighter everywhere, basically. Brushes that I would get doubles of if I knew they were being discontinued. We have, of course, the T6. And then, so this is a large eye brush. Compare this to the small eye brush. So both of these are like kind of tapered, but one of them is obviously more tapered than the other. Oh, here. This is an example of brushes that I have doubles of. I actually have 3 of these. This is the Sue Devitt base brush. This is made of Kolinsky, and it's a really strong blender for eyeshadow. Like, say I overdo something, I take this in, erase the edge, and then because of the shape of this, I can also use it for concealer, like I do with the Sonia G. Worker 2. It has this nice domed fat paddle shape that makes patting in and blending concealer really nice. So these are obviously all discontinued, but if you can find them, I would definitely jump on them. I actually don't have that many doubles other than that. Ones I do have doubles of accidentally would be the GSN 9 and G04. So, whoop, okay, nope, that was bad. Don't do that. This is the GSN 9. Temptalia really likes this brush, which is why I got it. And then I accidentally got this brush. This is a G04, exact same brush head on a different handle. Just like the same way I ordered the Bishodo 05 and 06 and didn't realize they were the same brush until I got them. And then I went, well, now I have 2 of these. Cleaner brush. Where do I get all my brush storage? That's for another video. Yeah, living in Europe seems to suck. You guys have a lot of tariffs and taxes. Yes, cleaning brushes. I have a video. I have the stuff pulled, prepared to do a cleaning in between cleaning brushes video. In between cleaning video. So I'm not sure. Maybe I'll take a break, come back and do that. But I do have the stuff pulled ready for that. It's going to be a fairly short video. But as for actually washing brushes, that's another longer thing. Storages. Okay, you guys are just talking amongst yourselves now. I'll just clean up. So since you're here, this is my brush storage thing. I just sort them by size, shape, type, sometimes by hair. If I have enough of them, like one of the missing compartments is for all my Kolinsky filberts, which I pulled for a video. Detail brushes all went to another compartment. I have a compartment for Canadian squirrel brushes right here. So that's how I sort my eye brushes. My big brushes, I just sort by hair type, if even, and face or cheek. So that's how I sort my brushes. This case is by Mondo. Let me see. This is by Mondo Studio. So it's like a makeup brush case. Like it's supposed to be for a professional makeup artist to use on a job, but I just bought it because it was handy. It has a nice slip through for putting on this case. And it also has a strap to go across this way or to use as a backpack because it has these straps. So I got it because it was really cool and really convertible. I've probably only traveled with it maybe 4 times, but otherwise it just sits around storing my brushes and sitting on my shelf. And then the rest of the case is used for storing spare skincare. Homemade soap. I don't have a recipe for my homemade soap because I just buy the hot pour soap where you just like melt it down in a microwave and then you like pour into a mold. Like that's really what I use. The Beauty Blender soap is really good though. Like the only reason why I used the jewel soap in my last video is because I had too many of them and I just wanted to use them up so they stopped taking up space in my cabinet. And because it also smelled nice. There's nothing really formal for cleaning in between cleanings, so it's more of a my technique and kind of renegade type thing. So I'm going to hop off this video. If you can't tell by my voice, I need some water desperately, and I'll be back hopefully shortly. Thanks for watching. Bye.